On the hunt for comfortable, timeless Western boots? You already know the best place to shop for quality boots is at your local Tecova store. So stop by Tecova's Nashville, at the Mall at Green Hills, or on Broadway by Ryman Auditorium. That's right, you now have 2 locations to choose from. Grab a cold one as you shop and get fitted by a pro. Tecova's Nashville is at your service, and you can find your perfectly fitted dream boots with the help of their expert staff. Everyone will be asking where you got your sick new boots, but I won't be asking because I know they must be Tecova's. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all.
Today on CityCast Nashville, we're coming to you live from executive producer Whitney Pastorek's house. We recorded this at approximately 10 p.m. Central Time last night with the goal of bringing you local election results and breaking down what they mean for Nashville and our community. The presidential race was still undecided at the time we recorded this, and we understand that many of you are waking up with uncertainty about our national leadership this morning. We share your concerns, and we'll be here to talk it out in the next days and weeks to come. But we have local results that are confirmed as of tonight, and joining me and Whitney to take a look at those is our District 5 Metro Councilmember Sean Parker. We're honored he chose to spend election night with us. It's Wednesday, November 6th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Sean Parker, thank you for joining us. And Whitney, thank you so much for opening your house up for us and providing election night snacks.
It's my pleasure. Sean, thanks so much for being here as our council member. It's super cool that you joined us.
I'm super stoked to be here on election night. Thank y'all.
And then we have Wally, Whitney's dog, just right between my lap almost. So if you hear a dog wrestling, it's just sweet Wally.
He's extremely passionate about electoral politics.
He sure is. I do want to mention right off the bat that this is a hyper-local podcast, so we won't be providing analysis of the presidential race. We can tell you that Davidson County voted in favor of Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz, while the entire state of Tennessee voted heavily in favor of Donald Trump. We also don't expect the race to be called tonight. If you're listening to this on Wednesday morning, you probably have more information than we do right now.
It's true. We exist in a bubble.
Now on to the results from our neighborhoods here in Nashville and Middle Tennessee. First and foremost, the biggest thing we were tracking here locally was Mayor Freddie O'Connell's Choose How You Move transit referendum. Woo! Which proposed to raise sales taxes 0.5% to fund $3.1 billion in improvement for our buses, sidewalks, traffic, signals, and more. And for the first time in decades, Nashville voters decided today that they'd finally had enough of traffic and pedestrian deaths and no sidewalks, that they voted decisively in favor of dedicated funding for transit. Give it up for Nashvillians. Council Member Parker, you're the chair of the Metro Council Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. What does this mean for our city?
Yeah, thank you. So this means a lot for our city. First and foremost, it means that we're now competitive for federal funding that our peer cities have been kind of eating our lunch on. So there's this federal funding that goes to long-term projects for cities to improve their transportation infrastructure. Cities have to put up a match for that. And they really want to know where that money's coming from, that it's there, that it's going to be there, that it's going to come through the life of the project. Some of these projects are 5-10-year projects to build out these dedicated bus lanes, light rail, whatever it is in a given city. We haven't really had... We'll do our capital spending process each year, and we'll set aside money, and we can put that up for federal matches, but it pales in comparison to what these other cities have with dedicated funding. And so we just haven't been competitive for that funding, and it's huge that we're going to be able to bring some of that home. even without the federal piece, this means we're going to see about 90 miles of new sidewalks around Nashville.
Goodness.
In near where we're recording on Dickerson, you'll see folks, riding their mobility devices, their wheelchairs on the street. You'll see families walking in, dirt paths along the street.
Right. There's that wonderful bus stop that's in front of the adult toy shop across from the school with no crosswalk.
Yes.
That's one of my local faves.
More crosswalks. We're going to improve pedestrian safety on all these corridors all across the county. We're going to upgrade like 2/3 of the traffic signals in the county. So this means that just in your regular driving, you're going to see about a 10% reduction in your time, your commute times, because of these new smart signals that are going to allow you to get through quicker. And under like really bad conditions, like when the interstate is shut down, you got to go through the city. These new smart lights are going to be able to know, okay, we need to route folks through this way because the interstate's down. It's going to just massively improve getting around.
Another thing I like about this, and I do know that we're in a state that is traditionally a bit tax phobic, right? We don't have a state income tax. We don't like raising taxes on ourselves to pay for necessary improvements. But in this case, we did. And what I like about that is it means that less of our tax dollars are now going to be leaving the state to fund transportation, transit projects in other states. Isn't that correct?
Big time. That's what that bringing federal, we all pay federal taxes, whether you do it out of each paycheck or at the end of the year, depending on how you do that. We all pay those taxes. And right now, the transportation piece of that is going to Kansas City. It's going to Louisville. It's going to Atlanta. And we're not getting our fair share of that. And this is going to allow us to get our fair share back. Another piece, because this is an across the board half-cent sales tax increase. Davidson County is huge. We're a job center. So we've got folks coming from outside of Davidson County every day. We're a huge tourism center. So we've got folks coming from outside the state, all over the country, all over the world, coming to visit here and spend money. So those folks are contributing. And it's estimated that folks outside Davidson County are going to contribute 60% of the local contribution to this whole program.
That's amazing.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. Let's get those let's call them our tourist friends to chip in a little bit here. Because, they're part of the traffic, especially around the airport area.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't think that these tourists are carpooling much,
No, they're generally using rideshare, which rideshare is great for getting around, but it also, it almost doubles the traffic that's covered for a given car trip, So these folks are going to benefit from these improvements too, from better signals, from safer streets, everything. Like the visitors are going to benefit from it too. So it's not like we're getting this from them. Like they're going to benefit from this too. The commuters and the visitors are going to benefit from this.
Absolutely. Sean, why did this succeed where the 2018 referendum proposed by then Mayor Megan Barry did not?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So first of all, we put this referendum on the ballot when way more Nashvillians were going to come to the polls and have a say. So the 2018 referendum was on a low turnout kind of primary election in March of 2018. So first of all, way more people had a chance to weigh in on this. Second of all, in 2018, there was a political scandal that caused a kind of a changing of the guard with the Nashville mayor. And so the plan's chief proponent was not there in office when the vote came up. And that just has a kind of ripple effect.
I forgot about that. She was already out of office by the time we voted on that thing.
I did.
And David Briley was the mayor.
Oh.
Remember Vice Mayor David Briley, that one time where he became mayor?
He was mayor then. And lastly, I just want to talk the plan itself. So the 2018 plan, the 2018 plan was really focused on these kind of massive pieces within the urban core. So the tunnel under the river.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, the light
That
rail.
freaked people out.
They didn't like tunnels.
The kind of short spurs of light rail out of downtown that didn't quite reach the county line. Whereas this plan really has stuff all over Davidson County. So, it might have a little bit more on these denser, like heavily trafficked corridors. But even if you live out in Jolton or whatever, you can go look at the map and you can see, okay, well, we're going to get a park and ride. Okay,
right.
We're going to get a new bus route. We're going to get some sidewalks here. We're going to get a transit center at some point. Like,
are we getting expanded service on the choo-choo train?
The Star.
Yeah.
The Star. Yes. The Star is, this will include some funding to improve the Star.
That's fantastic, because I do have dreams of someday taking it to Lebanon.
Can you tell our listeners what the Star?
Oh, the Music City Star, if you've ever gone downtown, which I don't know why you would have, you might have noticed there's like a cute little like touristy train station down there where the pedal taverns pick up and drop off people. That's actually a real train station. It's called the Music City Star. It runs from downtown Nashville out to Lebanon.
Yeah, it's extremely cool. There's a ton of potential along that line from downtown out to Lebanon. And
Through Donaldson.
And right now, we can't really increase the number of trips that we do because of some federal regulations that require us to make improvements that I don't fully understand. But this plan is going to get us closer to getting the train to where we can run it more often, such as weekends. The reason I've never used it is because I'm like, I want to go to Lebanon for the afternoon. I don't work out there or anything. Like, I want to go on Saturday. You know, go to the new East Nashville Beer Works out there. There's a guitar shop I love out there. Like, there's a bunch of cool stuff in Lebanon, but I can't go on a Tuesday because I have too much stuff to do.
We have jobs,
stuff to do.
People.
So weekend service would be huge for the Star.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
I'm so excited, and I'm so happy to report that this actually passed, because I'm not a negative Nancy, but I was a little bit worried that after 20 years, again, I'd be reporting that this thing wouldn't be passing. But here we are, high-fiving.
Very proud of us, Nashville.
High five.
I was at the watch party with Mayor O'Connell, and it was, everybody was pretty tense and nervous because, I mean, this is I can't
imagine.
The results that we see they're an inversion of the 2018 vote. We were trying to cover a spread of like 60 points, and we flipped it. We flipped it from 65-35 to 35-65. Like it's
that's great.
It's the plan is so much better. The team was really on point. And just, having that leadership from Mayor O'Connell to launch the plan and follow through on the plan was just really crucial to getting this thing across the finish line.
Freddie and I are like this.
I know you are. But I was really going to say, before we move on, we've had the mayor on the podcast twice now to talk about this. Mm-hmm. And we've heard how passionate and how animated he was about it, even though he was incapable of explaining it to us like we were just normal people and he wasn't the mayor.
Because he's so passionate about it.
This was very much his primary focus when he ran for the office of mayor. And now I'm excited to see what we're able to do next now that we've cleared this hurdle.
Yes, because this is just the beginning, folks.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think identifying that priority, I mean, the best shot with the most voters getting a chance to weigh in was getting it on the ballot this November 5th. And it was a challenge. I mean, like, I just anecdotally from hearing all different people in the mayor's office and council and planning and everything, it was not easy to get this plan together and ready for the voters to have their chance to weigh in on November 5th. But the team really worked their tails off and got a good plan together and got it before the voters, and they were successful. So it's really, really great to see.
That's awesome. Well, I think Wally's telling us we're going to an ad break.
Wally, do you want to take an ad break? And when we come back, we'll dig into the results from our local congressional races as well as the race for U.S. Senate.
That is not how he talks.
And we're back, zooming out our focus to encompass the federal offices that were on the ballot for us this year. Whitney, can you give us one of your patented speed runs through the results?
It would be my pleasure. I'm happy to do this. So here in Tennessee for the U.S. Senate, as expected, incumbent Republican Marsha Blackburn retained her seat by a comfortable margin over State House Representative and Tennessee 3-member Democrat Gloria Johnson. In our 3 local congressional races, the news isn't much better for Democrats, with all 3 Republican incumbents keeping their seats. John Rose easily defeated Lori Bergman in the Tennessee 6th. Andy Ogles comfortably defeated Miriam Abel-Fazli in the Tennessee 5th, despite a term rocked by campaign finance scandals and the aftermath of the Covenant shooting. And in the Tennessee 7th, Mark Green defeated former Nashville Mayor Megan Barry by approximately the same margin as he defeated Odessa Kelly 2 years ago. I will say that what really shocked me in all of this was the extent to which Lori Bergman, who, as those of you who listen to our podcast know, was feeling very sort of unheard, unsupported, the way that she kept pace with her fellow Democratic challengers in this one. But Sean, did anything about any of these races surprise you at all?
Not really. I mean, it was kind of a big night across the board in Tennessee for incumbents, for incumbent parties, and for the kind of realities of gerrymandering to take hold in these races. So I was not particularly surprised by any of them.
Yeah, neither was I, Marie.
I'm always hopeful, but yeah, I'm not surprised.
But you spent a lot of time in and around people downtown after the Covenant shooting at those protests, and you saw the energy behind that, which propelled two of these candidates to a large degree, both Gloria Johnson and Miriam Abel-Fazli, who founded Rise and Shine Tennessee, a gun reform advocacy group in the wake of that. I know you say you're always hopeful, but do you think that that energy is going to persist despite these results? It was a bipartisan energy.
I'm curious what these women are going to do next and because I don't think their energy and their commitment to our state or city is going anywhere, especially with Gloria Johnson. I hope that their momentum doesn't end here, but I don't know. I mean, what is your thoughts on what they could do next?
I mean, I'm hopeful, but I'm also very much a realist that, as Sean referenced, the lines are not drawn, especially in those congressional districts, in a way that is conducive to Nashville having proper local representation.
Well, and I think as folks, look ahead to the midterm cycle in 26, presidential cycles are tough. Like, people tend to come home when they step into the voting booth. So even if they've heard about a great candidate or something, it's, they're there and they're doing this top of the ticket thing, and they've heard so much about the top of the ticket on the TV, and it's difficult to get folks to defect down ballot, even for a strong candidate who's running a strong race. So I'll be interested to see how both Tennessee Democrats and Republicans approach the midterms in that context.
And to be clear, in all of these races, as well as in the presidential race, Davidson County voted firmly blue for the Democratic candidates, which is, again, one of the sort of reasons why we were gerrymandered in the first place, was to reduce the power of our city's Democratic voting bloc. And there's not a lot you can do to fight the numbers of the districts into which we've been drawn, no matter how much people in this city vote passionately in one direction or another.
Yeah, I mean, that 22 cycle was so tight that basically my understanding is the Republican leadership was like looking for even communities that like traditionally had not gerrymandered cities and broken them up. They were pushing it because, and it came down, that 22 cycle came down to, I mean, it was like a single digit. I think it might have been less than 5. I forgot what the lead was, but the Republicans won the House by. But
it's like the smallest House margin in history. Prior to tonight, we don't know what's going to happen from here in other states.
So it mattered, and
it did.
They. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily a Nashville thing or a Tennessee Republicans thing. I think it was again the national conversation, kind of coming home to Nashville and saying, "Look, if there's a shot we can gain 1 seat here, we're going to take it, and we're going to break this up."
Right.
Can I ask, is Memphis and Knoxville gerrymandered as much as Nashville?
Not congressionally. Memphis retains a strong Democratic U.S. congressman in Steve Cohen. Knoxville, I don't believe, has ever had a Democratic congressman in recent years since the sort of shift in the state.
Yeah, I mean, post-Obama, I don't think that Knoxville's had a Democratic representative, and it's really more of like a purple, like they will often have like a Democratic mayor, but a Republican county mayor. So it's a little bit more of a purple thing than like Davidson County proper is.
Right. And again, as Adam Friedman from the Tennessee Lookout pointed out, we actually in Tennessee may be down 1 congressional seat that we should have based on the way that the numbers were assigned after the last census. So could that change in the next few years? We don't know. We'll find out. But ultimately, the die was kind of cast before we all voted today. And I think, and I hate to make this transition so depressing for some of our listeners, but I think we saw the exact same thing in the General Assembly, the State House and State Senate.
Glad you brought that up, Whitney.
Happy to. I mean, we've already talked about the gerrymandering there. Same story.
Right. Yep. For example, we only had 1 local state senator up for re-election, Democrat Heidi Campbell. Hey, girl. She defeated challenger Wyatt Rampey in District 20. Her district, which looks kind of like a snake about to eat downtown, was designed to group as many Democrats together as possible.
And you see the same thing in our local state house districts, too, where they've made all kinds of exciting shapes in the gerrymander machine. And so we didn't really see any surprises there either. Most of our representatives here in Davidson County were running unopposed, all Democrats. Afton Bain, Justin Jones, and Jason Powell were all reelected easily despite their challengers. Bo Mitchell fended off a challenge from Metro Councilmember Jennifer Frensley Webb. So he's retained his Democratic control of that seat. And then in District 60, which was believed by many to be the most flippable district in town, quote unquote flippable, after Democrat Darren Jernigan decided not to pursue another term, Democrat Shondell Brooks did defeat Republican son of a bullet maker Chad Bobo out in that district. Sean, did you see anything interesting in any of those local state house races?
Well, I'd like to give a shout out to Democratic Rep Afton Bain for running like it matters. I think that is the mindset that if folks want to drive turnout, if folks want to change the composition of the state, we need to see more folks running like it matters. Even if
she was out in districts all around the city and across the state supporting Democratic candidates. And honestly, on the flip side of that, I saw virtually none of the Republicans campaigning. I mean, I'm in Senator Heidi Campbell's district. I don't know who this Wyatt Rampey person is. I didn't get a mailer. I didn't get a door knock. It's as though, again, with this gerrymandering, everyone just makes assumptions and it's done, and why bother?
It is unfortunate. It kind of takes a lot of communities out of the conversation. I mean, not to get out of Davidson County too much, but if you look at like Rutherford County, there was a new district placed there, District 13, that's like really centered around Eagleville area, but it stretches up and snakes up against the county line to the top of Rutherford County. And there's no community of interest. There's no like reason to do that except to pack a lot of folks in Laverne Smyrna in with the folks in Eagleville. And like, okay.
Right. But what do those people have in common necessarily? That's the thing that always gets me. Like, if I'm in the same state Senate district as people who live out by Radnor Lake, we don't have a great deal in common on a specific local granular level. We're not in the same tax bracket. Like we both maybe can see herons near our houses. I like herons.
Well, and the question, we were talking about the cracking of Nashville for the purpose of giving a Republican majority at the national level. But it's like, I mean, what's having a Democrat seat in Rutherford County going to cost the General Assembly? It wouldn't anything. It would be a shred against the supermajority, but it's not there. They made sure of it.
And I do think that based on the races all over the state, that Republican supermajority will remain in place for at least another 2 years.
I think the gerrymandering project gets a lot tougher the next round. I think it does, especially if we're adding another congressional seat. I think it gets tougher. There's this idea that like, oh, everybody moving to Tennessee is like super duper into that right wing. Most people move because they have family in an area, or they have a job opportunity,
or there's no state income tax,
or they just kind of like the state. Like, there are people that move here for the kind of culture war, hyper partisan thing, but that's not why most people move. Most people move for regular reasons, which is family, opportunity, income tax, the regular things. So this idea that like everybody moving here is part of a particular political project, I think is false. And we're seeing this massive population growth and, all through Tennessee. I mean, as long as the unemployment rate stays low in the state, we're going to continue to see that growth. And it's going to be interesting the next redistricting cycle.
Thank you so much for being here, Sean. And Whitney, again, thanks for having us over.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's always nice to have people in the house. Wally's furious. He wants to go to bed.
Passed out.
But I just want to thank my neighbors and my fellow residents of Nashville for doing something good for themselves by passing this transit referendum, by ensuring that we at least have a shot to become a 21st century city and move into the future with some safety and strength and sidewalks.
Sidewalks.
This is a big deal, y'all. I mean, Nashville should be really proud of the conversation we had over the last several months and what we came together as a city to do. As the mayor said at the event, we can still do big things, we can still do important things, and this was Nashville coming together, and it's going to improve all of our lives.
It's great, and we never have to say "choose how you move" ever again.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And remember to join us back here this Friday morning for updates. At CityCast Nashville, Fridays are when we break down some of the biggest local news stories of the week with some of the best folks in town. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Take care.